welcome. I am Tmzoids, and today we'll be talking about a topic that is very hot in the League of Legends community right now, and that is the SpectateFaker thing. Before I continue, no, I'm not going to be pretty much covering the same thing that's been said multiple times by different analysts and journalists and lawyers and people who have already commented and made blogs and posts and everything to this sort. No, I'm going to try and make my own ordeals and my own opinions. I encourage you to educate yourself on this topic. I encourage you to go look and do your own research and articulate your own opinions about the whole ordeal. But no, I don't plan on making a 50-minute video or an hour-long video about Riot and its hypocrisy and how they're pretty much going against what they said. But I get ahead of myself. First things first, I think we should go back and talk about the background information of this. So, we're talking about SpectateFaker, which is a Twitch channel at this time, and this guy, who goes by the name of StarLordLucian on Reddit, has pretty much used the Riot's API or Riot's spectate system through a website called op.gg that you pretty much can access and view anybody's game as long as they're in game any time of the day. So if they log in at 12 o'clock at night, you can view it, spectate it. If they're in the morning, you can spectate it, right? So pretty much he set up this program that anytime Faker goes live and he goes through this website, that his stream pops on and it pretty much auto locks on Faker and follows him around in the game. Well, he got a DMCA takedown notice, which pretty much says that somebody else had ownership of this property or ownership of what he was showing on his stream, and that he can no longer stream from Azubu. Now, Azubu is a partnership or sponsorship for SKT and a sponsorship for Faker, who he was spectating, hence the name SpectateFaker. And it kind of reached the front page, and everybody was like, what the heck's going on? And Riot's usually fast on this response, and everything should have been fixed. But within the week, nothing really happened, and Travis picked up the story, which is a famous journalist and or interviewer, or interviewee, depends on which way it's going. Throughout the League of Legends community, he picked up on this topic and said, you know, this is a pretty big topic, and why this needs to be addressed or looked at more. And then from there, everything kind of exploded. Everybody gave their opinions. Everything happened. StarLordLucian decided that he's going to continue streaming against this DMCA and continuing doing what he's doing. And then, of course, you had Mark Merrill, who is the co-founder of Riot Games, also known as Tryndamere, and the famous League of Legends character Tryndamere. Yeah, go on Twitter and talk about a few good things. And pretty much all the analysts and journalists have, you know, talked about the hypocrisy and all this jazz that Riot is going against what they stand for and all that jazz. Pretty much to catch you up to date. But I do encourage you to go out, do your own research, listen to different blogs, read different things, and articulate your own opinion and critically think about this situation, and whatever side you choose is whatever side you choose. You'll be on the Riot side, which is like, oh, this is bad, or you can be on SpectateFaker side, which is fighting for the smaller people. So the two things that I wanted to address, and the first one is more of a very broad topic. I mean, this is going out of the realms, out of the box. Pretty much everybody's covered what Riot is going against and all that jazz, like I said. What I want to kind of implicate is a bigger problem at hand, and pretty much going to use the word lobbyist, which is a bad word, but give me time to explain before you guys write your comments down below. This is to explain what lobbying is, or also known as lobby. It is an act of attempting to influence decisions made by officials in government, usually government, most often legislators or members of regulatory agencies. So for example, and this is going to be just a hypothetical example, say I'm the owner of Shell. I'm not the owner of Shell, but say I was. And I was going to help Obama win because he's kind of my ordeal. You know, he's the president that I want to see win, has my best business interest inside me. And I pay him and his people to, you know, go out, do their speeches, debate, run ads, all that jazz. I help pay for that stuff. In the long run, I now have influence in their decision-making, lawmaking in the long run. So say there's a bill coming out that, it gives gas companies a 25% more land in the American soil that they can go drill and fracture or do whatever they need to do to get more oil out of the American soil. And I, as a Shell CEO or owner of the company, dish out, put money into this and tell you, hey, look, if I'll slip you some money, and if you do this for me, I'll pay you in usually money. So they influence them by money, and the law gets passed because of all that jazz, right? How does that relate to Riot? Well, thinking about it, Azubu's a sponsorship with Faker and SKT. They really have no say or rules over Riot and how the games ran or any of the decisions or rules made by Riot, right? But since this issue's come up and this issue's created a huge controversy, which way you go is up to you. But think of it this way: Riot, Mark Merrill has come on Twitter and said that he is willing to change and implement and rework and rewrite the rules to accommodate all because they're against e-stalking. Keep in mind that is your personal opinion of what e-stalking is if you go for Riot, like I said. But this is huge. Think about this. A Zubu who's just sponsoring a team, just giving money to a team so they can play in the LCS or the OGN or the LPL, has the influence now to potentially change and manipulate the rules in favor of a company interest. So let me use another example. Say I was Shell again, and I wanted to sponsor a LCS team. I'm just going to use an NA team. Say I wanted to sponsor Cloud9 or TSM, whatever team you want me to sponsor. I'm going to sponsor them. So we write up a contract, and I say, hey, you have to wear the Shell patch on your left chest every game. You have to wear this. It's mandatory. Every time you're interviewed, you have to say Shell is awesome, all that jazz, whatever the case may be. We see it all the time. Sponsorships. Who do you want to shout out? Oh, this person, that person, right? Well, say in the contract I said, Riot needs to write a rule or make a rule, so I have the only power to control what this team does. And that's what ultimately Azubu is doing. He's claiming ownership of everything SK has. It's taking away the power from Riot and how Riot controls things if they go down this road. Keep in mind this is a very broad, outside-the-box topic. But he's also taking away the power of the players and the organization itself, and of course the people. Because you can manipulate, if this is the case, you can manipulate, change the rules, change how the summer code works in favor of having issues or having a favorable outcome for potential sponsorships and or people who sponsor money and give out money to professional teams. And I guess the best example is if this goes down the road it's going. The perfect example, another example I should say, is the MYM situation. Think about if sponsorship had the power and the contracts and everything in their name, and Riot went along with this for a while, until things got happen, somebody got fired, one of the managers got fired, they reworked the whole thing, they apologized, all this jazz, right? Just imagine if this person now has power. They rewrote the rules and rewrote how Riot is working things because of they're sponsoring a team that Riot officially owns or is under Riot's name, and they rewrote the rules so Corey would be out. What happens if Corey lost his mom's house? What happens if things turned out differently just because of sponsorship who influenced because they were sponsoring that team? Whatever the team may be, if it's Shell with MYM or, like I said, Azubu, this is huge. If a sponsorship can manipulate and change rules ultimately, that can lead to bigger implications, not only just for the team and its environment management resources and how much power Riot actually has over the situation, but ultimately to the people. The people have no power and no say in what they do and how the rules are changed and manipulated, and can be influenced how the games ran and how the rules are enforced. So that is just something that I wanted to think about. I'm not saying Riot's going down a lobbyist way or that they're influenced by money in any way, shape, or form, but it is something that has come up to talk and conversation now because, hey, Azubu really has no right over Riot of how rules are changed or stipulated, and the fact that Riot is willing to change and stipulate rules and rework rules, or reword rules, I should say, to favor and or protect players, quote unquote, in their business interest. This is bad. That's bad. Just shouldn't even be thought about. But that's something that you have to think about in the future. What if somebody else writes that in a contract or something else goes wrong? Is Riot going to be willing to change and rewrite and rework rules to better, supposedly better protect the player, but ultimately protect the people that are funding them, sponsoring them, and ultimately helping Riot, have teams that can play in the LCS in the long run? But off that, like, tinfoil hat, I guess, theory, I just wanted to say that SpectateFaker, aka StarLordLucian, is actually a hero. He's a hero for the little people. And I think this has not been talked about, and this is something that really needs to be talked about. And this is my main topic here in this whole ordeal, is that StarLordLucian has not only opened up a can of worms and a bunch of controversy in Riot, but he has helped so many other people, little people that have not stand up to all these DMCA takedowns and all these claims that have happened in the past because they review games or they use games and they just want to be part of the public eye and public opinion and maybe want to use this as a job or a way, a means of opportunity or way to get into esports, just not esports, but any game, or be involved with certain games with like Blizzard or, like I said, League of Legends or Dota, whatever the case may be, CSGO. This is a big deal, and this is just not for sponsorships. This is for games in itself. Let me give you an example and back up a little bit. So Total Biscuit, yes, he's a reviewer, an indie game reviewer. He does the WTF series of, what is this game, what's this game, and he pretty much uses game footage within the game. Not in any particular order, he just shows you footage most times, and he talks about the game, the pros, the cons, the brilliance, the stupidity of the game, why you should buy this game, all this jazz, ultimately giving a huge review. Great analysis, great job. He does a wonderful job, but he's got a big background. He's got his people, he's got his lawyers that he has, he's got his management team, he's got all these people that work for him, and all this jazz that get permission and emails, and they do all that background stuff so Total Biscuit himself can present this video to you. Now, somebody like myself, or even smaller than myself, decides to do the same thing. They want to review a game, an indie game, or any game in that sort. They use this footage. Maybe it's just a clip, maybe just a 1-minute clip, and the rest of the time it could be my face talking, or whatever the case may be, or maybe even using an image from the game. Companies have used these DMCs, takedowns, as a way to bully and push people out, kind of like StarLordLucian. They've used these in the YouTube community many times, like I said, reviewers of games and just whatever you're doing with the game, one way or another. They use these DMCA takedowns, usually because they're in a negative effect. When somebody's reviewing them and give them a negative review, they kind of hush those people down, and they get shied away. And you don't hear from them again, which is a big step for StarLordLucian and people that are little and don't really have many legal background and a big team to kind of like get out of the permission and all that jazz. Because think about it, if you can honestly open up now a person like StarLordLucian, who could be your front runner, your person you go to as your role model, to fight these DMCA claims, you would have so much more content, a lot more diversity on YouTube, streams, all this jazz, whatever the case may be, because they can't be bullied anymore. This is a huge step. StarLordLucian is somebody who fought this, who's just a small person who, like I said, doesn't have any real legal background and really didn't know too much of the situation and kind of, got bullied, said, hey, you can't do this anymore. He stood up to it. He's still doing it. And this makes him a hero. And I know using hero in a definition like this is pretty big, but think about it. This gives people opportunity to fight their DMCA claims on their YouTubes, DMCA claims on their streams, so people have the public opinion, so they can go out, express, and have a best non-biased opinion without the companies bullying them and hushing them up and quieting them down. This is probably the biggest topic that StarLordLucian has done, and nobody's really talked about it. I feel like this could be a front runner for a lot of games that get reviewed, a lot of games that could use this as a way to kind of like, hey, we shouldn't always DMCA these people. We should just let the public opinion be the public opinion. Because there's been multiple times. We've had multiple stories, news articles, issues in the past where, hey, we hush these people. If it through be Reddit, through forums, through targeting, you could go back all the way to Gamergate, you can use that power and that influence. They said, hey, we're going to hush these people up. We're going to delete this thread. We're going to remove this thread. We're going to delete this. This can't be talked about anymore. You'll be banned. You'll have shadow bans. All this jazz. And this is all public information. You can go and do your own research on Gamergate. That is a whole nother can of worms to talk about. But he's a front runner. He is a little guy that has stood up to the DMCA claims, which is if you did not know, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And he stood up to Azubu. He's standing up to Riot in retrospect, but he's also helping other people and encouraging other people to go out, make these videos, hopefully stand up to those other companies who do this, bully them out, and hush them and scare them away. Because it is. They do. Many times, a lot of small people want to use YouTube as a way to like review or interview people, and one little image or one little clip from the game, and all of a sudden, it's taken down. And they get scared because they're threatened to be sued, they're threatened with fines, and somebody who doesn't have a well successful job, or somebody that can't afford those fines, or somebody that cannot afford a lawyer of any sorts, are scared. They're pushed away, they're bullied, and StarLordLucian is one of those little people that stood up to them, is still standing up to them, as of what I've read so far on his updates. And I feel that this is good. He's a hero. He's really helped the community, not just in Riot sense, but he's helped the gaming community in a whole, and hopefully he's helped people and encouraged people to kind of fight and argue their DMCAs and put them up on other forums and have discussions and hopefully have backing from not just the gaming community itself, but as you saw, StarLordLucian has gotten the backing of many journalists, many big names in Riot, one way or another, many streams, many people who, love or hate the guy, love or hate Faker, or love or hate SK, or whatever the case may be, love or hate Riot. He's gotten a lot of not political backing, but he's gotten a lot of backing. He's got a lot of strength, and he's fighting up to this, and it's bringing up good questions, a good community conversation that ultimately leads to what's Riot gonna do? What are other companies gonna do now? That's what the community's there for, to put them on the coattails, to hold them up to their standards, hold them up to what they say, and fight for what's right and what we believe as gamers. And I feel like StarLordLucian has done a great job. He can be a hero. He can be the one that, is a stepping stone, or one of those motivational people for little people on YouTube, little people on the streams. But I just wanted to give my 2 cents. I didn't want to make this video too long. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, the first one was more of a tinfoil hat kind of conspiracy ordeal. I just feel like that is a bigger implication that nobody really, they touched on it a little bit, but they didn't really speak on it too much, because I figure, I thought it was kind of weird, Zubu, who's just a sponsor of Riot Games, is ultimately just, doesn't really have any power and say, and Riot's willing to change and manipulate, or not manipulate, but change and re-alter and reword rules so they can be at peace and not have any legal issues or any problems with the Zubu and or teams in the future being sponsored, which is insane in itself if you think about it. So think about that, just a little tip of my own thing. And of course, once again, StarLordLucian being a hero and kind of the front runner and maybe a person that people can look up to and use as an example to fight the DMCA false claims and takedowns that want to use YouTube as a way to analyze and critique games or whatever the case may be, journalize or interview people who are related to the game and whatnot, and ultimately broadening the gamer community and bringing more strength to the game community and broadening more of opinion just because the top people like Total Biscuit. And there's nothing wrong with Total Biscuit. I'm not saying that Total Biscuit needs to leave and we need new people. I'm just saying that it brings more variety to the table. You can see different opinions, different ideas, something that maybe Total Biscuit completely missed or something that he didn't touch on that another reviewer can do. And I think this is really good. I think he's a hero. He's done what he's supposed to do, and I'm glad he's fighting up against the cause here. And ultimately, we'll see what happens from here. But that's my 2 cents on the whole StarLordFaker, SpectateFaker ordeal. I'm mixing up the names now. StarLordLucian, aka SpectateFaker. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Tmzoids out.